Make sure you can hear the audio. Give me a thumbs up on good audio. Otherwise, I'm going to switch where the audio is on my shirt. It's a little bit windy today. So can you comment, give us a like? We've got earth-shattering, shocking news, spiritual confirmation of this. I've been talking about this over the last few days. I've brought on the professional here of the Illuminati, deciphering the deep state code of all the darkness of this world. No introduction is needed. Donut, of course, good friend of mine. We've been working together for over a decade now. Again, leave a comment just so we know that the audio is good, because we would hate to do this entire broadcast without a like, shattering the algorithms, and then in addition to that, without it getting shared to your friends and family so that they can critically prepare for what we know is coming. An absolute stock market meltdown, economic collapse, more hyperinflation at the central bank caused by the central bank. We're going to talk about the manipulation of the propaganda right now that is dividing people and peoples worldwide, what we can do about that, and how we can actually fight back with spiritual power through Jesus and through God, and how all of you have the opportunity through collective prayer, mindset shift into the 1000X mindset to actually affect earth-shattering, just like the bottle's popping right now, a massive effect on what happens next. And we can crush through the darkness of all the terrible things that we're seeing in this world today and truly have an impact that is going to be beneficial in your life, your children's lives, and the life of this country, which is in a lot of trouble today.
Yo, 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 what up? It's Donut, and you tuning in to all your Illuminati news. We are, if this sounds kind of weird, on Christopher's audience. We're streaming, multicasting on multiple platforms. Right now I'm addressing this camera. We're here with AMTV Christopher Greene, my old boss. He's not old, he's good looking, he's very muscular, so it's like that worked for Christopher for over a decade. Started from the bottom, now we are at this beautiful view. And you probably know Christopher from, and I'm addressing my audience right now. You know, everybody already knows Christopher up there. We're going to talk about crypto, prepping. Mostly, I want to hear about prepping. And I want to ask my audience about it, because we've been covering the LeMay papers. We've been covering a lot of stuff for a long time that I haven't really, I used to present it to my audience before I got part of the social credit scoring system, that it seems like it's only in China, but no, it's here. It's here in America. A lot of people who have YouTube channels similar to mine aren't allowed to buy, sell, purchase. It's social credit.
Yeah, we're starting to see that now, and we see it in other countries too, Donut, where I have a lot of members as a part of islandproject.com that have had their bank accounts frozen, confiscated, their retirement accounts erased. Namely in places like Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, I can confirm, and that's why people have been so eager to get their money out of the banks into safe haven investments like ours, because people are really worried. People of faith, Christians, all faiths, realize that they're being oppressed right now. And we saw this with the events in 2020, which changed the entire ballgame of not only leading us into World War III, which we're currently in now, which we've discussed a lot about Taiwan, which we can talk about today, but the economic tyranny that is ever so present, that's going to affect every single one of your lives, which is why you cannot comply 1 inch to these people, because it's a death by 1,000 cuts, and if you give them an inch, they go a mile, and they truly will destroy your lives, your liberty, and your freedom, the things that we care about the most.
Right, so you've been covering the geopolitics, like what happened was the lockdowns happened, right? And this totally shifted the entire world. Maybe it started with the 2016 or whenever that was elections that shifted the world. Maybe that was the start with the Hong Kong protests or whatnot. But when the lockdown started happening, everybody can attest to this, that there has been some sort of psyche shift, some sort of soul kind of transformation, a division. It feels like we're under a scientific experiment. As and you know what, in the Economist magazine, they said that that's what it was all about. Actually, they said that they're going to study each section of America as a petri dish And, that's what the AI, Twitter, all about. You could trust Elon Musk, they say. You got all these different new truthers out there, I guess, part of the red pill movement. But where were they 10 years ago when you were screaming at the top of your lungs?
It's easy to just ride the coattails of, well, I'll blatantly say it, the innovators and the leaders of free market media, which is really what we helped design, along with all of you beautiful subscribers out there over the last decade or two. There's definitely been a spiritual shift. It is major. We talked about this last night, even spiritual awareness nightmares of God warning me of what's coming and how we need to do everything in our power to spiritually prepare. We need to be ceaselessly in prayer, and we need to be warning everybody that this is spiritual warfare. I truly believe that this is end times, that the imminent return of King Jesus is imminent. And I realize we have people of all faiths here worldwide, but these events, Alex, that are going on in Israel right now, this is prophetically biblical. We have the red heifers being sacrificed any day now. We have a new temple that's being built. We saw Trump make some major moves during his presidency in Jerusalem. So it's a long laundry list of war, prophecy, spirituality, and this is the time to get our ducks in the row and really realize that as spiritual warriors, we're fighting a battle so much bigger than ourselves, and let's call upon God to give us that courage to fight this war and to succeed and win.
It's all about, I'm big into praying and multiple different faiths, even people that don't have faith, up on the channel. And, I'm cool with all that. And it seems, I don't know how the end times is. I titled it End Times in here, but it seems like we're in some strange times. Sure, all throughout history, everybody's like, we're in some strange times. But we are absolutely in some weird stuff right now.
We've never been in the stage of prophecy where the book of Daniel literally tells us about how iron and clay won't mix. The clay being a human being made in the image of God. I was reading this to one of my children last night, the book of Genesis, and we were learning about the firmament and the waters above and below. And my children were asking questions about how this earth is designed as we were watching from this beautiful view, all the planes come in. And not only were we made in the image of God, but it warns us that in end times, prophetically, that the technologists, I believe, will build a Tower of Babel, a new technological tower that they build in man's image. Just like Adam and Eve were deceived and sinned and took the bite of the fruit, so to speak, and fell from grace, now we have human beings sinning, bringing in the Antichrist, riding in with Satan, darkness, and merging people with iron. Iron is silicon. Iron is the microchips. Iron, many believe, could be the Neuralink that's being designed by Elon Musk. The genetic engineering and gene therapy that we're seeing, and we can talk about certain topics there, and we have to be careful because we understand, we can't on certain platforms give all the truth, but you know what we're talking about. This is a merger of man and machine, a transhumanism event where I believe Archons, is David Icke, if you've read any of his books, is described as being very
I've read
evil,
all of his books,
demonic forces, the demiurge, that are essentially feeding off human beings' fear. And at this low vibrational state where we have political warfare, Trump under attack, being gagged, he may be thrown in prison. He could be taken out at any minute. And that's just the politics, not to mention the wars, and now a threat on all of humanity and what it means to be a human being and having sovereignty over your own body. Conscious awareness, because keep in mind, once that integration occurs, which it tells us in the book of Daniel will not work. A stone is etched out of the earth and decapitates essentially and breaks and shatters that paradigm. So it's not going to work. These people don't win, but there's going to be a lot of pain and suffering, and Satan's agenda is to bring as many lost souls and people that don't know the truth yet into hell. And so it's our primary mission to save souls which you constantly remind me about all the time and provide me a lot of wisdom. For those of you who don't know, Donut provides tremendous wisdom spiritually to me all the time. Gives me confidence at times, even when I'm feeling a
That's
little
how
bit
you know we're in
concerned.
trouble. That's how you know we're in trouble. When
But
you're coming to me for the wisdom. No,
well,
for sure. Wisdom is a lot different than knowledge, right?
mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest keys of wisdom is, or with faith, is the two things that we can control is our attitudes and our action, right? That is a universal truth. That's the only two things that we have the ability to control is our attitudes and our action. We could show up with a positive attitude, a crappy attitude, and we have the ability to take action. And faith without works is dead. You got to take
Mm-hmm.
action. Action, action, action. And that's wisdom, understanding that. All about understanding that. And
Mm-hmm.
relying on a higher power, God, whatever, multiple, concepts of what that is. Relying on that rather than our finite selves, relying on something bigger, because God has a better plan for me, for everyone, rather than my little plans.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And
there's that one saying: "Man plans, God laughs." And
yeah.
I don't know. I think that's some wisdom right there.
Oh,
Not
great
it's
wisdom.
simple.
And he's going to make the moves as he's the master chess player on your behalf. And at times you're going to wonder why the water is shifting as Peter was walking on water with Jesus. The minute he lost faith and said, wait a minute, like this is impossible, he drops into the sea. And so we have to keep in mind as followers, trusting your instincts in God and all these kinds of things is going to take a tremendous amount of faith and certainty in that faith that even during the dark times, when you're walking through the valley of the shadow of death, you're not doing it alone, but you're doing it with the peacekeeper and the rainmaker of light and truth, and that you're using his eyes, not your own. And this is the most important thing about faith, success, spiritual prosperity, which I'm big on, and really that 1000x mindset that I've been preaching to millions of people around the world, along with you for a very long time. Ladies and gentlemen, you've got the
Well,
opportunity to absolutely change your entire life for the better, to literally change everything simply with the seed of an idea. Just like the seed of faith, that seedling can move a mountain. You can move the mountain in your own mind. This comes to cash flows, this comes to investments, this comes to personal relationships, this comes to your marriage, this comes to your physical health and well-being. Every single thing can be pulled universally from the one single truth, which is God. And pulling upon that strength, once you learn that secret, you'll find that everything will just come to you. People say money doesn't grow on trees. It actually does. A central bank prints it into infinity, creates enormous amount of debts from nothing. So making money is easy because it's in abundance. It's not finite at all. There's too much of it. It's just there's too few people that actually understand the seedling of truth so that they're able to access that in their mind.
Zig Ziglar wrote a book called "See You at the Top," and look at this. Christopher and I, if you knew where we started from over 10 years ago, and then us being up on the mountaintop, right? That's like see you at the top. It takes a lot of hard work to get where we at. See you at the top. That's what Snoop Dogg's spiritual advisor told him, but he also told him a lot of other weird stuff. But the mindset, you talk about mindset, is super important. As you can see, Christopher has his camera rolling on his cell phone. I would like to maybe kind of go back in time a little bit as the alternative media, or not even, just YouTube in general. People wonder, how did I get my channel so quickly with so much 1000x growth? Well, they don't understand. I've been producing videos, thumbnails, titles for AMTV for over 10 years. So I've had the experience of what works, what doesn't work. And you've taught me so much about showing up, right? Because we are going through a wealth transfer and economic collapse. And while that is happening, we're going to be distracted. We're all going to be pointing fingers at each other. Yo, it's that tribe. Yo, it's that tribe. All crushing each other, crushing the middle class, while the tippity top is pretty much laughing at all of us. It's absolutely nuts. But going back to the wisdom of what we can't control, our attitudes and our actions, action. You taught me this, showing up every day. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, just consistency is the most important thing to your success, showing up on the days that you don't even want to. It's critical, just like a government or evil rulers can cut you down incrementally over time. You can do the same thing to build yourself up. If you're creating a beautiful work of art, if you are a sculptor, you're etching in beautiful stone, that's going to take time to build. Same thing with your body. You don't get instant results when you go to the gym. It takes incredible discipline and patience in striving for what you actually want and desire in life. Very few people are asking for what they actually want, which is why you don't have it. And people really need to understand this fundamental truth. I'm living proof of this. Once you ask for what you want, you get exactly what you need. And God always provides what you need. And so you must have faith and trust in that, and then also realize that success comes from the working hours where you're taking more shots than everybody else. It comes through working through pain and suffering and even loneliness and hopelessness at times. It comes through rising from failure. My dad even pointed this out to me the other day. He says, through the tragedy of course, losing my brother and all that pain of suffering. My brother died of cancer a couple of years ago, bone cancer at 39. He didn't even make it to 40 years old. We can choose to succumb to that. Depression, anxiety. We could have a loser mindset, or we could choose to rise and become victorious. And we could actually use that to get even stronger. We can use it to glorify God. We can use it to glorify my brother, to honor him and his life. And so it's important that we take the suffering, just like Jesus came to the world in that enigmatic form. It was all about suffering. He wept at society. He broke down in absolute tears and sensitivity to the fallenness and the darkness, knowing he would be executed on the cross. That's the most beautiful story that has ever been told ever in the history of the world, in the history of civilization. We have world religions colliding right now regarding that holy event and the holy war that you were describing. So I think it's interesting to think about. We could talk about the divisiveness that they're intentionally creating right now to divide people. I think is an important conversation, because we must realize we are not the enemy. The people, the neighbor isn't your enemy. Other groups, other faiths aren't your enemy. Other cultures aren't your enemy. That's what the media wants you to think. That's what the politicians want you to think. Republican, Democrat, right, left, Biden, Trump, as they engineer their division, and they engineer also their own opposition. Central intelligence agencies are rolling out pretty amazing campaigns right now. I don't know if the audience is aware. I've been talking about it, but we have CIA operations running right now in regarding the events in Israel, which we were talking about, very sensitive topic. But I'll point out as an example, Kanye West, several years ago, went on the Alex Jones show. He was the first person to introduce anti-Semitic rants. That was before Israel was attacked. And why were these seeds planted long ago and early? Why are we seeing college protests now on campus that are anti-Israel? Because it's being engineered like an Arab Spring by design, by governments, by the media for a reason. And that principal reason is you always want to create your own opposition so you can control that vacuum to achieve the agenda in Hegelian form that you wanted. And so, case in point, what does all this do? All the anti-Semitic rhetoric and the division, that actually furthers the war agenda. It furthers more conflict in the Middle East. It furthers more vitriol and hate in these kinds of things. And I believe it's being crafted because there's a very specific agenda. We have a multi-pronged World War III event that we've reported on for decades now. China is about to take Taiwan. Do not underestimate that China will take Taiwan by force in the coming months. This is why Congress just approved, along with the Senate, and passed $90 billion to a failed war in Ukraine, which was always the proxy war for World War III that we predicted accurately on this channel, which has now led into Israel. And also Taiwan. This is BRICS hegemony, a new currency framework revolving around blockchain, in central bank digital currency, CBDC, something I specialize in specifically as a blockchain expert. This is a reset. This is a collapse of fiat currency, the US dollar. This is why there's so much hyperinflation. It's why people can't afford anything. It's why they're divided. It's why they're hopeless. Society is making people sick. It's making them unhealthy. It's making them broke. It's making them destitute, because this is what's so perplexing. Unless we know these people are working for the evil one, but as a good leader, you would want your country and your people to be strong. You would want them to be healthy. You would want them to have family values. You would want them to have a culture. You would want them to be invigorated. You would want them to be successful. You wouldn't want them sick and dying. And I was in a hospital over the weekend. I took a loved one in who was struggling. Please, Sharon, I was looking at it. It's basically a cow factory that feeds off people's illness and makes money on it. The same way you would brand cows or you would milk them for a profit. You go to a vending machine and they're serving Coca-Cola and Doritos at the hospital. Do they want you sick? It appears so. And so all of society has been designed to destroy, honestly, everything that's pure and holy about being a man and a woman. That's the only two. And has been designed to destroy and then feed off and profit from that pain, misery, whether or not you call it Archons or the demiurge, or I call it Satan, and grave evil. This is the war we're fighting. This is why you homeschool your kids. This is why I homeschool all my children. We are outside of the system. We are the system, and in the kingdom of God, as I call myself the general, I'm the general of his kingdom. I'm just one of them. Many of the soldiers in the Navy SEALs fighting the war, the spiritual war to save souls.
Yeah, you know, I'm happy you brought up you brought up a lot of things. And when I was working for you 10 years ago, you were talking and hammering about General Wesley Clark's 7 countries to wipe out, finishing off with Iran. Now, the forever war over in the Middle East, it must be destabilized so it can continue, because that's how you control the planet, through the world, through this heartland. So you got these satanic elements that go in through camouflage throughout certain sects of different religions and whatnot. They're absolutely not religious. And you can absolutely prove this too. Subscribe to the Patreon to learn more. But
Absolutely.
I've been covering the Crusades, the Knights Templars, and all these different secret societies, the assassins, going back to the Illuminati. And what the Illuminati did with artists is they recruited the youth, because the youth was easily corruptible, not because they want to help the world like a Greta Thunberg or something like that, or want to save like virtual signaling, which is a huge, psychopathy trait, that they used these celebrities like Beethoven. Beethoven, for example, was trained by an Illuminatist member. They used the celebrities young with power. They seduced them with power. Now, I've heard stories from girlfriends who went to Kanye's house and he was playing X-rated films. That's what she told me. I didn't believe it. I was like, you crazy. She also told me she went to Scott Storch's house, and she said there was yayo all over the place. And I didn't believe her. I'm like, this chick is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
This was 2012. This was a long time ago. And then it came out that the dude's mansion got repossessed or something because of his addiction. And then Antwoord came out saying the same thing about Kanye. And so Kanye planted the seed. He's part of the Rockefeller camp. Now, he's obviously a genius too, right?
He is a creative genius, 100%.
I'm a big Kanye fan. I think that
Great businessman.
Yeah. But I can see the plans that are way above his pay grade with the connections to the Kardashians. Anyway, when he was having the baby with the Kardashians, he was playing a video game called The Crusades, right? This is the new Crusades that was happening through a bloodshed ritual. And they want to divide everybody by pinning people against the people, right? That's what I loved about Jordan Maxwell. He always claimed it's not the people, it's these institutions and the power within them. And Kanye went directly after people. So that's why I was red flagged by that word. But I've been covering the Knights Templar symbolism and everything that's going on. So prayers out to the Middle East, everybody there.
100%.
But it is a looshing festival. So what happened during Black Lives Matter, that was a loosh for black people to be scared that they're going to get killed by the police. And then there was a looting festival of Asians that you're going to be scared to walk around America because you're responsible for what happened. Then the Mexicans, it was the ice camps. If you go outside, you're going to be put into an ice camp. Right now it's the Jews, then it's going to go to the Christians.
It's going to be the Christians next. The Christians, the Jews are under attack now, anti-Semitism, all those things. Very scary time in the Middle East. Christians are next. And how are they creating that vacuum? They're creating that vacuum actually through Trump. They're creating that vacuum by placing people like Kanye or Ye on the Alex Jones show and building anti-Semitic rhetoric narratives while he wears a black mask on his face. And they're creating that vacuum that will eventually and later turn just like January 666. And they want to point to that Republicans are dangerous, Christians are dangerous, these people are propagating a civil war. This is why they're putting out movies that you told me were trash.
Oh, Civil War?
Haven't even seen it.
Yeah, absolute trash. The film is trash, sponsored by pretty much the left.
George Soros?
George Soros, probably. Who knows? It was like, why does The View promote it? All the mainstream medias promote it. They are just, it was just, yeah.
They got more leverage on the promotion and writing articles than they did on the movie that supposedly sucked. Which again, if they're telling you about it and you're constantly hearing about it, that's because they want to tell you about it and they want to hear about it. Let me give you a case in point example. 33,000 people dead in Gaza. Well, they stopped giving us a body count after we hit 33,000.
Well, there's also going to be 33 hurricanes hitting this hurricane season. 33, you see this 33 everywhere. It's symbolic. Continue.
Yeah, great humanitarian crisis is happening right now, but they're not reporting on the actual stats because it's not convenient for them. That would build anti-war narrative. That would bring people wanting peace, not war. And we have a huge humanitarian crisis, which the government tells us constantly they care about people and they want you to be safe. Well, I doubt drones bombing people on their foreheads, innocent civilians, kids and children that might be pregnant, is providing them with safety and security. When is the last time the government ever wanted you safe? Everything I've studied or experienced in my life with any government, regardless of where it is, has been subjugation of people. Read the book of Exodus, and the Jews had to avoid essentially slavery and tyranny. We look at Native American populations right after the Civil War. What did the US government do? Wipe them all out. They essentially exterminated them, and they tell us that the Civil War was about slavery. It wasn't about slavery, it was about power. It was about the South being a powerful force. It could have been its own country, which is why Abraham Lincoln ordered the assassination of the Southern president at the time. Our history is only written by the victor, and we see casualties of war, and we see humanity lost, Japanese Americans, many innocents, rounded up into concentration camps. In Hawaii, if you look at Hawaiian culture, where I'm thinking of the word, what's the disease? Leprosy. They just rounded people up and threw them on another island called Molokai. And then later they said actually it wasn't contagious. They were wrong about it, but they still just wiped everyone out and stole them from their families and stole their liberty. When has a government ever been there to protect your liberty? And that's the point. That's why the constitutional republic, although not perfect and although founded by our founding fathers, did the best job in the best experiment that has ever existed for liberty and freedom in the history of the world. That is under attack and under grave threat now. It is being actively destroyed by the cabal and the deep state. They are waging a war against human beings, and they must topple from their eyes. The United States of America, the last symbol of freedom and guts and balls and brawn and cowboys. They've got to get rid of that. No way could they have a sovereign United States of America with cowboys and digital cowboys like us, Donut Factory and the General, in an environment where they intend to introduce everybody into a new world system of total power control, surveillance, the removal of rights, self-driving cars, pedals that get stuck in the new Cybertruck that could drive you off a cliff, implants in your forehead. All of it is systematically designed for profit, to destroy humanity and remove God from people's hearts deeply from the spiritual vein of that argument.
Now, I want to remind everybody that we got over thousands of people up in here. We're streaming all over on Christopher's channel. Smash that like button, share this video out. Every time we pass through 1,000 people, I'd like to remind y'all to like it, share it out. Go subscribe to Christopher. I got his links down below as well. Puts out great content. And let's talk a little bit about crypto right now, you
Sure.
know, because we went to crypto events like over a decade ago, and I used to laugh at it. I used to be like, yo, this is a cult, Christopher, right? Maybe it was a little bit, but I was absolutely wrong. If I would have just took a small investment, I would be multimillionaire with that investment.
You'd be Bitcoin rich.
Yeah, I'd be Bitcoin rich. So proven wrong. You came out, you told the world to purchase Bitcoin when it's $3,000 and stuff, and people backlash. I remember you had all these trolls saying, this guy's a shill, Bitcoin, but they're not coming out saying, oh, you were right, that 3,000 could have turned to 60,000. You know what I mean? Obviously, it's volatile. I'm just trying to give the audience a little roundabout of how we hung out with we hung out with them billionaires. We've been going, I did the video, you know, I'll be like, blah, blah, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, tell us your thoughts on crypto right now.
Sure. So a Bitcoin rich has made me Bitcoin rich. Bitcoin in general, crypto. And as many of you know, that's the number one thing that I do on a regular basis. I'm designing an asset-backed portfolio now of real estate in Hawaii, in Maui, that will be tokenized as a real-world asset on our proprietary blockchain. Crypto's made me rich. It's made me a multi-millionaire. It's absolutely changed my life. But that's not
I'd
even...
like to add on top of that, like because of what I've learned through Christopher, I made more, technically I'm a crypto trader because I make more money.
And you're a good trader, and you've made money, so don't sell yourself short. But what he's saying is that, as I've always said, the Bitcoin is an IQ test. It's basically the earlier you bought, the sharper and higher your IQ is, because it wasn't obvious. And typically the best investments in the world aren't. Many people didn't buy Google. That's actually one of the reasons and how I knew Bitcoin was as big as it was, how it was transformatory. Just like social media. When we started in social media, people said it was a joke and you couldn't make any money. Well, we've made millions of dollars in social media since then, e-commerce. All these platforms are monetized with millions of eyeballs. Again, the general public in sentiment is typically wrong, especially with new inventions. But what drew me to crypto wasn't just making profits and money, which is fantastic. It's life-changing. Get those cash flows up. I teach this every single day. But in it, the main point was freedom. For a guy like me, the thing I care about the most as a digital cowboy is being free, is being sovereign. It is being in control of my day-to-day. And that is what America stands for, or did stand for. That was what conquering the West was. That was what fleeing from a king and establishing 13 decentralized colonies in the United States that were self-governing. So those things are that's what I value. That's what brought America wealth. What brings a country wealth isn't communism. It's not socialism, things like we're seeing now in America. It's not oligarchs getting special treatment. It's small businessmen and women that could become big, that could rise in a single generation, go from nothing, dirt broke, to a millionaire in one generation or in a number of years. And most of the wealthy too are first generation wealthy, by the way, providing people with motivation. So crypto is the most life-changing, earth-shattering, technological human development ever in our lifetime that is bigger than the internet, Google, Amazon, Apple computers combined. Bitcoin will circumvent all the total market caps of every single major technological company in the world, including Tesla. It will be the largest tradable secured asset base which you can borrow from in the future. You actually never have to sell Bitcoin. That's why I call it Bitcoin rich. You can securitize Bitcoin. You can buy a house with Bitcoin. You can do anything with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency advancements. The new trend now, the biggest thing in the world, which is why I'm 100% invested in it, it's why I built my company, islandproject.com, is tokenized real estate and tokenized real world assets. That's the future, and that's the next big wave that's 1000xing, but is still very early. We already have a base layer technology that makes up Bitcoin. That's been done. Bitcoin's going to go to 150K to 250K this year. Very easily, it's a 2 to 3x. So for you ballers out there, you 1000x mindset ballers, you young kids, you baby boomers, whoever you are, buy Bitcoin now. Minimum, it will double this year. I'm expecting probably that to happen into the summer, as we've just completed the into the fourth halving cycle. For those of you that don't know what the halving cycle is, every 4 years, programmatically, Bitcoin mining reward is cut in half. Miners mine transactions on a ledger, which shows each transaction connects those blocks into a blockchain. It's a very transparent technology that works with confirmations. Once you have about 7 confirmations or so, 5 to 7, it's confirmed on chain. So we already have the technology that's providing a replacement to fiat dollar trash, which is the US dollar and other fiat turd currencies worldwide. The yen has gone to 0 against Bitcoin in recent years. That's a fact. The US dollar is down 95%, 98% compared to Bitcoin in recent years. Hyperinflation is 20% a year in real terms. This is why I tell people to get rich. It's not about just driving Lambos and buying your first Ferrari. Cool, make sure to do that. I have a lot of cars, 13 Jeeps, supercars, etc., on real estate all over the country, soon to be all over the world. But it's not about that. It's understanding what happens next, how they're building a control society of which they don't want you to be free. So what's happening with Bitcoin now? After people telling you it was a scam, and I told you to buy it, and so did you. You came around.
Yeah, but
right?
you told people to publicly buy it, and you got the backlash. But
Tons of backlash.
That's what I admire about you, though, is that even when the wave goes against you, you like, whatever, I'm going to still go for it. And then you turned out to be right. But this guy is so wicked smart, and that's why I like to talk to wicked smart. Financially wicked smart. I'm not financially wicked smart, but you are, and you used to work for these big investment. I don't understand the terms or whatever, but you told people to buy Google and stuff back in the day.
I sold the Dutch auction of Google stock, which had limited lots that could be sold only to high net worth individuals though. So keep this in mind. All the regulators and governments, I won't hit them too hard on the balls, but they basically don't want you to be rich. They really don't want you to be rich. They only want the rich to get rich. This is why there's laws that prevent you from buying certain investments, just like you couldn't buy Google stock unless you were accredited and you had $1 million in the bank and you made $300K a year, preventing the average person from getting rich. They don't want you rich. They want you control. And so what is amazing about Bitcoin, what I've designed with islandproject.com, our real estate investment, our host of properties, and our soon-to-be launched blockchain technology, which will 1000x into a multi-billion-dollar asset class of the future, along with what BlackRock and everybody else is doing. The beauty of it is it's democratized. Every person in the world, you can be in India, you could be in China, you can be in North Korea, you can be in Russia. It doesn't matter where you come from, the color of your skin, the God that you worship, who your friends are, if you had a good upbringing, if your dad left your family and you didn't have a father, all of you can invest in Bitcoin. No one can stop you from getting rich. All of you can invest in crypto. No one's going to stop you from getting rich. And regarding the pushback of that, number one, that's how I know typically I'm right about something, because it's the best investments in the world are misunderstood. The best technology is misunderstood at first. But I also say all the time, I'm not here to be popular. I'm here to make you diamond nuts 1000x freaking rich and Bitcoin rich. That's what I'm here to do. And to change your life and your mindset so you can be the coalition of freedom fighters and warriors and spiritual Navy SEALs that go out and change the world. That's where we're powerful. That's why they want to control the media. That's why I built AMTV along with you, Alternative Media Television, because we are here to change the world. Like Malcolm X said, that the media is the most powerful entity on earth. Yeah, you're right. That's why they need to censor it. That's why they need to control it.
Shout out to Malcolm X.
Shout out to Malcolm. And what happened to Malcolm? Pop, pop, pop. What happened to MLK? Pop, pop, pop. JFK, ending the central bank and the criminal Federal Reserve. Pop, pop, pop. What happened to the late John McAfee, who I believe is still sipping a Mai Tai somewhere on a beautiful island somewhere? Probably pop, pop, pop. Again, they whack these people and they take out the people trying to change people's minds and that pose, I'll be blunt, a challenge to the system paradigm. And this is the biggest learning lesson for all of us to think about, is that everything is an illusion. Your life is an illusion. The institutionalization of schools and medical care and government and media and even world religions in some case is if you're not directly reading the truth in a Bible or the Torah or whatever you're spending your time in, all of this has been weaponized. Your culture has been destroyed. Women have been put into out of the house and encouraged, which is fine. Go be a hardworking woman. But you know what's happening now to a lot of these women? They find out they can't have kids later. And then they're not married and they don't have a husband.
Well, the sperm count is down as well, big time. And also the youth and people, they're not mating anymore. So like we're all on social media, which was created by these asexual people that created it, the Zuckerbergs and all that. And that's what's happening to society. That's what's society's becoming asexual as well. Kind of like, I think it happened in Japan too, but now it's here in America. It's absolutely a scientific experiment that's happening, but I feel like they know what they're doing.
Sure.
Like,
so
with AI.
Who benefited from, and there's nothing wrong with women being strong and powerful, but
shout out to all the strong ladies.
Shout out to all the strong ladies, the ovary nuts out there. We love you tremendously. But the point is, who did it really benefit? Corporations. They broke up the nuclear family. They put more people in the workforce. And then what did they do? They clipped coins, essentially, in the United States. Now, one person can't afford to barely buy a house or have a family under one income. They brought everybody into the workforce. They've made everybody sick and unhealthy. They've destroyed culture. They've destroyed the footprint and the bedrock of which the United States of America was built on, which was God. They've destroyed that foundation. It only benefited the corporations profiting. And I'm not anti-corporation, I'm anti-crony capitalism and oligarchs that are getting special treatment and bailouts. I'm pro-capitalism, 100%, 1,000%, 1,000x a capitalist. But my point is, it only served them. And then people look around and want to know why they're dying. They want to know why they have cancer. They want to know why they have a gut. They want to know why they're broke. They want to know why they don't have a girlfriend. They want to know why their marriage has been destroyed. It's because systematically the institutions that brainwash you and institutionalize you do not have your best interests at heart. They have their own interests at heart. They have their own profit motives at heart. They have their own agenda. It's the same thing we're seeing now. We saw it in the most shocking display in 2020 that we have ever seen in the history of the world. That was the declaration of World War III, in my opinion.
What was the declaration of World War III?
The event in 2020, the one we're not really, we don't talk about.
Sure.
That was the declaration of war. It was a systematically designed event to logistically move world resources and the number one asset that the institutions need. You, all tuning in, you're the money sign to these people, to governments, to politicians, to the oligarchs. They're monetizing you. Social media makes money off you. The government taxes you. Joe Biden wants to raise the capital gains tax, I think, to 46%. You've got to be kidding me.
Well, in Canada, which is actually an illusion, it's actually just the British Empire. That's what Canadian Patriot has showed through his research. We just had him on. Incredible.
Very cool.
Yeah, and they just got raised with a 666 income tax. So you got to pay 666. I think it's 66.6% or something like that on your profits, or something like that.
Wow.
Something crazy, but that with that number. And with the lockdowns, how you're saying that was the declaration of World War III. Isn't it a little suspicious that every single government that doesn't like each other, all were hugging each other and we're all cool with it and everything was okay? Well, you know what? For this, we're gonna all stop and we'll be cool. Doesn't that show you that there is a power structure hidden behind all of this?
Oh yeah, Republicans and Democrats were making love. They don't agree on any issue, but the lockdowns, they loved them.
They did love them.
Oh, they loved compliance and they loved destroying small businesses. And again, who did it benefit? That's how you know the answer of the systematic design and control features of the Illuminati and the Illuminati Dolphins, is that it benefited large corporations, it benefited the essentials, it benefited the companies we're not allowed to talk about, it benefited the banks. Where did all the money shift to? It shifted to them. Where did all the power and control shift to? To them. What did the net worth of the richest people in the world do during
Elon
lockdowns?
Musk, Jeff Bezos, all these people became ultra rich while we had to shut down businesses, middle class. This is the same thing with the dumb Walmart people. going to Walmart instead of supporting local businesses in the 90s, or because I remember when that was happening, because I was raised in the middle class. We got beautiful bugs flying all around. Maybe he'll come say hello to us. This is nothing compared to Hawaii. Look, there he is. Hawaii is absolutely nuts. And you know, change your investment process. You're not all, like, you do the Bitcoin, but you also do real estate.
Yeah, so
yeah,
I own a lot of cryptocurrencies, obviously, and that's where I created most of my wealth, along with social media, very early on, and all glory to God, but also came through a lot of hard work, diligence, and risk-taking, as you know.
Oh, please, you gotta tell us about
Tons
risk taking. Like risk taking, oh my goodness. This is so important. Especially calculated. Not like gambling crazy person like that gets all the money and loses it. Kind of like me, I guess would be a good example. But you gotta take risk. No, I'm not totally like that. But
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I have an addictive personality, so I gotta be aware of that. But risk taking, it's a masculine feature, and you gotta do it. I'm all about it. I've been programmed. My dad always told me the biggest risk is not taking a risk. Tell us about taking risks.
Well, yeah, if you're not taking bold, all-in risks now, calculated risks, ones you've done your homework on and due diligence, you will lose, suffer, and be broke for the rest of your life, especially in this environment. In the environment of the global takeover, their goal is to send you into poverty. This is how they're weaponizing global economies right now, and that's why they want to topple sovereignty like the United States, because they're going to put you on universal basic income. They're going to control every fabric of your life. They're going to lock your car doors in your Tesla. God forbid they'll drive you off a cliff. They want to put silicon into your body. They want to take control of your biology.
Silicon Valley. That's a real Silicon Valley.
Yeah, that's the real
there.
Silicon Valley right there.
So maybe silicon is a good investment.
Yeah, so I would say that by not taking bold, aggressive, all-in 1000x risks, you're only hurting yourself. Now, that does not mean you take stupid risks, like I'm going to just put all my money on the lottery. No, it means you take bold, calculated risks. So when I studied Bitcoin and I realized that the banks, by design, would fail, and that we no longer needed brick and mortar, that digital currency was the future, which I learned from social media, from building an audience, that people were currency. See, people told me that we couldn't make any money in social media, but I always saw a network effect of people and knew that an audience would actually monetize, because that's what Coca-Cola and the marketers and everybody want, are eyeballs, which is why they run constant advertising and spend all this money. So people are currency. But the point is, after doing your homework, after doing your due diligence, after building confidence over an investment, you go all into the investment. And you work every single day in a concentrated position to build true wealth. Once you've created wealth from a concentrated position, many people become wealthy with their businesses. Or they got wealthy because they bought Apple stock early and got lucky, so to speak, but it's not luck. Or they did something else, or they bought Bitcoin. Then you diversify. So you've seen me do that myself. Now, what do we own? My company, along with hundreds of members around the world, we own a collection of multi-million-dollar real estate in Maui and Oahu, soon to be Park City, Utah, and worldwide, with no bank debt, that's now being tokenized, that generates cash flows every single year, paid to our investors, large capital gains potential, and also rewards founders rate tokens. See our terms and disclaimers. I have to say I'm not a financial advisor, to all those early VCs in our little private, not available to the public fund, and takes it 1000x in the future. And so you want to diversify after you've created the wealth and after you've taken that risk, and then level up again to where you've plateaued and go even higher.
Well, you know, Christopher, with all this work, right, for all business owners out there, a question is, one of the struggles, you know, that I'll have is burnout, right? So, like, how do you stay at a high level operating? Can you give us some things? You're doing all these big things. You're running a business. I got to see it firsthand. You know, me and you both have good work ethic. 10-hour days or whatever, or longer. And can you tell us a little bit how are you so sustainable without the burnout? I know I already know a couple of the answers, but for business owners out there, trying to get that dough nut, that paper.
Yeah,
How can
absolutely.
you keep it sustainable? Because what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so burnout is a very real thing that you'll experience on your way to success, where once you break through another glass ceiling, typically that's when you want to quit. When you get those feelings to give up, and I learned this, that my real true success only came after 10 plus years of systematic consistency and dedication to what I was doing, which was creating videos every single day, sometimes multiple videos a day. And once I crushed through 10 years, all of a sudden my income started jumping to levels I'd never seen, like 10xing overnight. Audience was doubling every 6 months. The most important thing is the mindset, which is free. That's what's so amazing. You don't even need any money to change your mindset. So the 1000x mindset, that's what I call it, a gorilla mindset, a diamond nut mindset, the mindset of a champion, of a warrior, is the most important thing. Regarding burnout, and I've had burnout and even have a little bit now, we've crushed every single metric and funding goal for islandproject.com in recent years since my brother's death. I have been a working all-American machine along with my dad. I mean, we have crushed it. We have literally bled, and all glory to God.
Right.
Because he's in power, he's in control. I would say the way to combat burnout is through inspiration. You inspire me.
Oh,
People inspire me. Hope in something bigger than yourself. God, faith, and what no one wants to talk about, rest.
Okay.
You have to rest. What did God do on the seventh day? Took a break. You need to repair yourself, especially as you get older. I'm about to crush through 43. I'm in really good health and shape. Very thankful to God for that. He's in control. You got to treat your body right. Treat it like a temple. You need to remove toxins from your body. We all have our addictive personalities and our vices, but my advice would be to look at the things that you might be overly addictive to. So whether or not that is coffee, which sounds like coffee. No, coffee, too much of it can be harmful.
I drink a lot of coffee.
I like coffee, harmful. But I actually move more to tea. I did have 1 cup this morning of coffee, but honestly, I've realized when you get older too, your body will change.
It's dehydrating too. I drink so much espresso, it's nuts, but it's dehydrating, so I got to add water.
It's a diuretic. So basically, you're peeing so much coffee, which is a diuretic.
What's a diuretic? Is that
basically you've got to get out of your body. You got to pee it out.
Oh, okay.
And so it's dehydrating.
Oh, okay.
I mean, this affects the largest organ in your
like
body, your skin.
Too.
Alcohol's
right?
dehydrating too, and it's a downer where coffee's an upper. Versus tea, who are the longest living populations in the world? I don't know if you know.
You've told me about it.
So in Okinawa in Japan.
Right.
And why is that? Well, in Japan in general, they live long, healthy, fruitful lives. But Okinawa in particular has the most centenarians that have lived above 100 than anywhere in the world.
What is a centenarian?
Someone who's over 100 years old.
Century.
Yeah, a century years old. Now, why is that? Well, they actually drink a lot of tea.
Oh.
And they drink green tea. And they drink other forms of tea. And tea is an antioxidant, not a diuretic. It actually cleanses your cells, cleanses your body. It actually is more hydrating of a upper, because you can put caffeine in your tea or not, etc. And also, what I've studied too with the Okinawans is that they have big communities. So as they age, everyone's important, no matter if you're a widow, or you've lost a husband or a wife, or you're single. You're all essential in the community, culturally, religiously. They're also super active. Grown men in their 90s, sometimes in their hundreds, are still spearfishing. They eat a really dense protein but easy digestible diet of fish and sushi. They do eat rice, even though that's a carb, and they eat vegetables. It's a lot cleaner.
Oh.
I would also argue too, probably weather patterns are better there as well. So I think it's all encompassing, and we've talked about this too, but as you're getting older, see, you can take more burnout when you're young. I mean, you used to see how hard I would run in my 30s. I could basically, wake up in the morning, run a marathon, produce content for 10 hours straight, get on a plane, and we could even go party if we wanted to. I'd wake up the next morning at 5. Well, the things you're doing now in your daily routine will affect you for a lifetime later. And so I would say, especially if you're younger, don't take your health for granted and realize, number one, God's in control of it, but you have your own daily consistency and routine that can promote really good health. And that good health will also bring confidence. It'll bring apart better relationships. You'll feel better. You'll make more money. Everything about your life would be better. So one thing, if you're feeling down in the dumps and out of control and depressed and anxiety, the first thing I would do is subtract almost everything that you're eating and doing out of your life, and then slowly add back one thing at a time and see what is the problem. I kind of found that coffee is really not good for me. It raises my heart rate too much. I'm already an amped up type A personality as it is. Raises blood pressure, those kinds of things. It's really not needed for someone like me who already has a bundle of energy and wakes up and has to run around the block.
For me, who's all like, yo, what up? Like, all chill, right?
And bodies are different too. You can even study the human body, which I think is very cool, that certain bodies need more meat, certain bodies need different levels of protein, but all of it is a cause of the inputs. Your inputs give you an output. I always say this with money. If your inputs are making you broke, like you're like, hey, I'm broke, it's not selling, or this product isn't working, well, that's because your inputs are terrible and you need to change the input. If you keep walking up to beautiful women and every time you ask them out on a date, they tell you no, that means your input sucks. That means your game sucks. That means you need to change the input. If you're selling and you're a closer on a phone, but you're not closing, that means you're asking the wrong questions. That means your input sucks. So the first thing you do when you're in failure is you learn from the failure, reverse engineer, and throw another option and input out there until one works. Until the right question closes, then use that question again.
And that's probably a good calculated risk taking. And that's not huge, that you can be like, okay, I asked this person on a date, or I try to close this deal and nothing's working. Maybe I'm gonna switch it up and do something different. That is a calculated risk.
Absolutely.
That's risk taking.
And asking questions. He who asks questions is in charge of the conversation.
He who stand on toilet is high on pot.
And never make the first offer in a deal. Let the person you're negotiating with make you the offer first. I learned a lot from my father. My dad, Papa John, Diamond Nut Sr., who you
shout out to Papa
who
John.
you know well. Shout out to Papa John, my partner with islandproject.com. He's an incredible guy.
Shout out to Austin.
And shout out to Austin there behind camera. Feel free to cameo, son. He's a wonderful father, but he's a wonderful businessman. And one thing, I'll give you some really great life advice from my dad. Learn to say no.
Say no.
Learn to say no. People asked me in 2020, well, it was hard, Christopher. They were threatening me. Just say no. And I see my dad do this in business all the time. I've seen him threatened at times. And he just says no. And then you know what happens? A month later, I see that he won. Say no. Say no. You're in charge. You don't have to be a yes man to everything.
And that's a masculine quality, that not masculine as in male, female, masculine quality that the Rockefeller schooling system doesn't want us to have. They want us to be subservient of, you do this, stay in line, go here, go to the class, you learn this, no. But when you can say no, that is power.
Society is designed for people to be a cog in their wheel, not to think independently, not to be a business owner, not to be an entrepreneur, not to be rich. They barely teach you how to manage money or invest. They don't even cover one course on how to make money. Can you imagine? I was in college, private and public school. There was not one course on, hey, Christopher, we're going to teach you how to get rich today. This is what I teach professionally. I teach all my members at BitcoinRich.com, the largest cryptocurrency school in the world. And now my new course, IslandProjectClub.com, how to get rich. I tell you how to get rich from somebody who's gotten crypto rich in my specialty, what I'm best at. That doesn't mean that I'm the best at everything. It means I'm the best in the world at what I specialize in. No one ever taught me in school how to make money. My dad taught me how to make money. He taught me how investments work, how compound interest worked. He helped me look and analyze, what a dividend was, how to read cash flow statements and these kinds of things. But to take it to another level, I didn't really learn how to make money, frankly, until I was broke. So not until I was broke and didn't have any money, I really had to self-reflect and be like, well, what input is wrong? And how come I'm not rich? And how will I get rich? And then I learned how to take a penny and make $1 with it. And then after making $1, I said, if I could do that, I could make $10. We saw this in the early days of YouTube. I've talked about it before. I remember when I got my first check for $100, and I took it to my wife and said, look, honey, we're rich. I just made $100 doing something I really enjoy. She's like, really? That's cool. She's like, you know, kind of patted me on the back. Well, good luck with that one.
Good for you.
Although she encouraged me to do what I do. She was the only one that supported me, actually. You need a good wife to be successful. We didn't even talk about that. You'll make more money with a family, with children, and with an amazing partner. And from a man's perspective, with a wife who complements you, that supports you as a team, which we've both done. I back her up on everything, and she backs me up on everything. And through my entrepreneurial career, she was actually the only one that believed in me regarding social media, crypto, and everything that I've been building. It wasn't until later that even family members started onboarding after I started to show and exhibit all these success points. And people were like, wow, like he was right. And obviously what he's doing is working. And I was able to monetize and learn from my own mistakes. So you have to hit rock bottom, honestly. You have to, sometimes even with your health. And I want people to think about that. God works in mysterious ways and puts you at the bottom and puts you eating dirt. I'm trying to think of the story in the Bible where the brothers throw the other brother, maybe someone could help us out, into...
Well, you know, I like what you're saying, though, because sometimes it takes pain to change, right? We don't want to change until we're in enough pain to be like, you know what, this ain't working anymore. I got to do something different. And those are like the biggest blessings, like sobriety journey, how to go through pain to be like, yo, why I feel disconnected from God. I feel all these different things, you know, I can't manage relationships, life, or stuff like that. But it was the pain, which was a blessing, that brings me to another thing. Even us connecting, in 2012, I was making YouTube videos, and on the side while I'm editing them, I was listening to David Icke and Michael Tessarian, Mark Passio, Jeff Berwick, just all these different, you know, people that were already on the internet.
Yeah.
And this was like 2012. Everyone said no. I went to business conferences and I told them, hey, get a YouTube channel, get a Facebook channel, to real estate agents, to local business owners. They all laughed at me, said, no, I have a business card. I don't need to be on the internet. I don't know how to do that, right? And they all laughed at me. But then I was like, okay, whatever. And I just did my own thing. But I was in so much pain being broke that my dad's like, apply for a job. And I was all like, no. But he's like, apply. And I did. And that job that I applied for was with yours truly, Christopher Greene. So
1000X.
Like the pain, and now we're at the mountaintop. There's a mountaintop right here.
Yeah.
We're on top of, y'all don't even know how beautiful this view is. Like this ain't doing it justice.
Yeah, I'll
like,
kind of show you guys while you're...
This is like, I always wanted to be sitting up on this mountaintop because I've lived here in Arizona. I used to do little drives around this mountain and with the homies and the homegirls, and we used to have a little fun driving around around these hills. And now I'm up here hanging with Christopher. Absolutely breathtaking.
Yeah, well, from the motivation standpoint, you need to ask yourself, if you're not succeeding, what are you doing wrong? And in addition to that, if you're suffering from addictive qualities, which we all do, be blunt and look yourself in the mirror. Why are you poisoning yourself? Why are you doing things that hurt you? Because you can be your worst enemy, or you can be your biggest success story. And again, that all starts with a spiritual mindset. It's the spiritual mindset shift. And people need to realize you don't have to rely on your own strength. Use God's. Use His power. Don't ask God to give you strength. Ask God to give you hope. Ask Him to give you faith. Ask him to give you redemption. If you've hit the dirt, maybe you just broke up and you had a divorce and you're going through this terrible time, or you lost a loved one, like I did. Find the beauty in that. Find how you can make it better. Find out how you can actually do something positive with it. Again, ask for God's strength, not your own, and take care of yourself, your mind, your soul, your spirit, your body, all these kinds of things, and work at it every day. When you make a mistake, don't let that be your limiting factor. Don't dwell on your ill successes or the mistakes you've made in the past. Move on from them. God created you in the perfect image of Him. You are a sinner. You're always going to sin. You're always going to make mistakes. Sometimes things will not go your way, but it's all a matter of your perspective, persistency, consistency, mindset. Those are the biggest, I think, learning lessons. And if you've been alive long enough, like we have, there's going to be some casualties and wreckage along the way. I always go to my brother because that's a very hurtful thing that happened to me that is a massive loss. I mean, he was my best friend. I loved him. He didn't even make it till 40. To lose that is a devastating setback for me personally. In the future, he's with me spiritually. I still see him and hear him every day in my heart and my mind, but he's not here. I'm not able to share an experience with him. I would love for him to see my success. I would love to be with,
I feel he's
with
here.
the,
that could have been
yeah.
him. That bee that came. That was probably him.
Well, he shows up in
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, he shows up in
it.
Maui Booyah actually in the form of a red cardinal.
Yeah,
all the time.
I saw one yesterday.
Did
I don't
you
know
really?
if it was a cardinal.
Maybe
I
he
got
was
the
visiting.
video. I'm gonna show you it after. I don't know if it's a cardinal, but it was a red bird, and I'm like, what the heck is this? I'm gonna show you it.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And I looked that up too. I didn't know what it meant, but I felt my brother's presence the first time I saw it after he had passed, and he visits me from time to time. And then I looked it up, and it is a very spiritual thing, that cardinals actually represent like spirituality and represent loved ones.
And we're in Arizona, and we're the home of the Cardinals here, right?
Absolutely, we're a home of the Cardinals. So my point being is
something like that.
Yeah,
a baseball team or something.
Yeah, Arizona Cardinals. And don't get down on yourself. There's going to be some wreckage. If you've lived long enough, there's going to be casualties. It's like being in a war. Business is war. You're a war. If you're an entrepreneur, you're at war with everyone else. You're at war with a bunch of competition, which the things I've always gravitated to are the things that are early with less competition. Starting in social media in 2008-09, no competition at all. Everyone told me I was nuts, and that's how I was able to make millions of dollars, because I got in early. And then I stuck with it for a very long period of time, over 10 years before things really changed course in a monetization type way. And it's the same thing with anything. Same thing with Bitcoin. Same thing with any other entrepreneurial investment or venture or anything like that. So it's very, very important to identify trends before everybody else. I do believe I'm the best in the world in doing that in our field. And so identify what your interest and passion is. I will also say, people say all the time, you can't make money in your passion. That is bullshit. That is bullshit. I do everything I'm passionate.
That's the only way to keep
That's
it
the
going.
only. You
Somebody
won't.
in the comments was saying that too. Like the passion, what you love to do, what you're excited about, is going to fuel you to do it. Nobody's going to sit for 10 hours and edit a video unless you want to.
Yeah.
You're passionate about it.
You won't fight when things get hard, man. It's like a marriage too. If you're hitting a trying time, if you don't really love the person you're passionate about, and you're not going to fight, you'll give up.
Oh.
Make sure every day that your goals are so massive, so 1000x, it is worth getting up and fighting and dying for. When I wake up in the morning, I set my goals, and I still am elevating them. It's got to be worth the fight. It's got to be worth the pain and suffering. Don't sell it short and look and try to join the JV team. No, you go all Olympian. Make it worth it, because life's actually harder settling. Life's actually a lot harder cutting yourself down. And if you apply for the same job that every other person on planet Earth is applying for, that's actually harder. You'll make less money. There's more competition. Everybody's doing it. You're not differentiated at all. You have no specific niche that you're good at. You have nothing. You're a commodity. And so more advice would be hyper niche. Find your vein, be incredibly passionate about it, and make the goals. I've learned this in business. My most successful business ventures have been the ones that are the craziest, with the biggest vision, that no one really understands at first, and then makes millions. And if I've ever done a business where it's like, hey, this just seems totally typical, those fail. You know, like, hey, open up a car wash, you'll probably go broke. You know, like the basic things don't work, especially in a hyper-competitive, industrialized, and now technologized society where everything is decentralized. You're competing with workers from all over planet Earth, which has never happened before. Everybody is remote working. The competition's more fierce than it ever has been before, especially with the second and third world catching up with the United States. People are willing to work cheaper, harder, smarter, more. This is why we also have a decline of the Western Empire too, because people have been, I like to say, cucked, and they, you know,
Well, I mean,
the laziness.
I'm not even going to talk about it. That's for Patreon. But
My brother, I have to say this. I'll let you speak.
do,
He always used to say that it sounds politically incorrect, but I say it with good meaning. It's called the retard effect.
Okay.
Most people around you are retarded, and they're actually not going for what they want. If you actually go higher, it's easier to achieve. And there's less competition at the top. So you can always count that most people around you aren't even asking for the $1 million sale. They're asking for like a $10,000 sale, because that would just be mind-blowing them to consider that they could go that high. If you're cold calling, don't cold call a random household. Cold call the biggest company in the world. Call the Hollywood studio, which I've actually done. I was a cold caller in my early 20s, and I learned very early on through sales techniques in these things that if I was calling like mom and pops, it was harder, but if I went straight to MGM or like the big high studios, I'm trying to think of the one that we closed a multi-million-dollar deal, SAG. They couldn't believe it. They're like, how did you get in there, Christopher? You're 21 years old. How did you make the call and get in with this high-level executive? We just closed a $100 million 401k deal. What did you do? And I just looked him in the eye. I said, no one else was calling. I just picked up the phone. No one called because they assumed that they were being called. But they weren't, because everybody else was thinking in scarcity. But I had the 1000x mindset. I was diamond nutting to the top where there's no competition. And so people need to understand this, especially in social media, which we can even talk about.
Well,
Go ahead.
I hope y'all heard what he just said, because that is one of the biggest takeaways I got from, you've told me this in my past. So that's something, what he just said, I hope y'all listened, because that's some wisdom of, going for, let's say, if you want to go on a date with the person that you want to go on a date with, go, or if it's a deal you want to close, or an artist you want to work with, just go straight to the top,
Yeah, why?
But it's not going to be easy to stay at the top. If you ain't you go do that,
Don't settle. Why does typically the guy who's not even the best looking gets the 10, quote unquote, because he's the only dude that asked. All the other guys were intimidated, fearful, didn't ask. So repeatedly ask. It's also a numbers game in sales, life, women, relationships. If you're a female, with men, whatever it might be, it's just a numbers game. If someone says no, what did Jesus do? He kicked off his feet, told everybody to kick off the dust off their sandals, go to the next house and preach the gospel. And if they shut the door in your face, do the same thing. Don't even take it personally. Just move to the next door until you close, or until you find the success, or until you find the product, or you find the girl, or you find whatever you're searching for.
Well, Christopher, this has been dope. We got a lot of stuff to do.
We do.
So thank you for tuning in. Smash that like button. I got Christopher's links down below. Go subscribe to Christopher. Also go to my Patreon. It's Friday. We're going to be doing a bunch of live streams there. We got some big shows coming up as well on the YouTube channel. I mean, this was absolutely excellent. Going over the business side, because this is like stuff that is an actionable thing. People always ask, what is, you give no solutions. And I'm like, no, I do give you the solutions. The only two things that you can control, your attitudes and your actions. So, and leave it all up to God as well.
Absolutely.
And, yep. So much love, everybody, and God bless you, Christopher.
God
Where
bless,
would you-
and links below. I will add links to Donut's channel as I'm live streaming here at AMTV. Make sure you subscribe to him. That's Donut, Doenut, the Donut. We got a lot of great content, and if you like tuning into me, you'll definitely like tuning into him. We thank you all. God bless. Jesus Christ is King.